Good morning. Lisa Sully here with New Start University, coming at you bright and early this morning to talk to you about something that has been on my mind. And crazy enough, I've had two conversations with other moms this week that just kind of reinforce that this should be the last topic. Well, actually, tomorrow we're going to do meal prep for busy moms. But other than that, this is our last talk on moms and the support and type of things that mom needs. We're going to move on to another topic next week. But this is the deal. Like, I currently have a young child in elementary school. And I also have older children. I have one that's already left the house, and then I have one that's getting ready to graduate. Now, today's St. Patrick's Day. My child's probably too old to believe in a leprechaun. I don't really know that he does believe in a leprechaun, but last night he decided that he wanted to set out a leprechaun trap. And so we played along. We really didn't want to. It was late by the time that he realized, that tomorrow was St. Patrick's Day. But we decided, we know from how quickly our other kids have grown up that they're only going to be little for just a tiny bit. And childhood is such just a time full of magic and miracles that we would just kind of allow him to live in that spot for just a little bit longer. And so we did. And this is the thing, when I looked over at him today, he was so excited, when he went to go see if his leprechaun had been caught, and then kind of discouraged when he found out he got away again. He started plotting for next year. He's like, well, this is what we need to do next year. And I looked at my husband and I was like, chances are he's probably not going to believe next year. Because that magic fades away. I've seen it. And as that magic fades away, the little boy that right now just idolizes his father and I and thinks that we know everything, the little boy that will do what we ask him to do without much back talk or much, too much trouble at all, the little boy that still holds all his values and morals that we've taught him close to heart, as time, goes on, we're going to have some hills and we're going to have some valleys and we're going to have some mountains that we have to climb with this little boy. We've seen it, with our other kids, because as when they get into grade school, they start talking to kids who have other values and other morals, and then when they get into high school, there's so much social pressure, and there's so many different things that are going on with our kids, things that I never had to deal with, and I'm very thankful that I didn't have to deal with. And eventually they'll start challenging your authority. They'll realize that you don't know half as much as they thought that you did, unless you do. In my case, they know I don't. And they'll challenge it and they'll push back, and they're trying to find their way. They're trying to figure out who in the world they are. And while they're doing that, there's going to be some battles. I don't know too many parents that have survived the teenage years without some scars, some battle wounds, if you will. And that's just part of it. But this is the thing that I'm passionate about and I really want to talk about. And I don't know exactly what the answer is, but hopefully I'll have some follow-up videos on that later on. The thing is that when our kids go through those things and when we have those hard times with our kids, nobody is talking about it. And it's probably because we're embarrassed. Maybe we feel like what our child did was just horrible, and maybe we're mad at ourselves and feeling like maybe we, failed in a certain area as a parent. Maybe it's because we obviously want to protect our child's privacy and we don't want to spread, dirty laundry all over the place, which I completely understand. But this is the thing. There's been two different times in my life when I've been really upset over something, and it had to do with my children. And both times, I promise you, both times, when I have went and talked to a dear friend, and it was very hard for me to even open up and share with, them what I thought was just detrimental at the time. And looking back, it really wasn't anything. But it was very hard for me to open up. And a lot of it was pride, and a lot of it was because I felt like I'd failed as a mother. And when I did finally just open up to my friends, I promise you, both times they told me something that they had gone through with their children that one-upped what I was so upset about. I was talking to a friend yesterday, and she was talking about a mutual friend that we have, or an acquaintance rather, that we have, and that this person's child had got caught doing something wrong. And we both kind of said, although we're not happy that happened, obviously, we hate that parent's going through it, it kind of validated us, and we were kind of like, yes, they're not as perfect as they look like on the outside, because it's somebody that when you look at them, they have just absolutely everything together. And so just knowing that they had a little bit of crack in that perfectness, it just did something. I mean, I was still kind of like last night going, oh, that's so nice to know that they have issues too. But how nice would it be if somehow we could have a support group? If somehow we could just realize that, you know what, kids are going to be kids. We were kids. I did some of the stupidest things in the whole entire world, and thank God there wasn't social media around. I did things that my parents would have been horrified if they found out. And it's just part of growing up. And I'm not saying it's right, and I'm not saying that it's okay at all. But I'm just saying that sometimes we put ourselves and our kids, and my kids have even told me that I've put them on such a high pedestal and acted like they could never make a mistake. And that's a lot of pressure for them growing up. I can't even imagine. I mean, I can't imagine how that must have felt to them, knowing that I put so much pressure on them that they felt like they couldn't ever screw up. Because if they did, you know, the whole world would come shattering down. Because once you get past those teenage years, and I've seen it with both my older boys, you start to really appreciate. You start to appreciate some of those trials you've had. You start to appreciate the fact that they think for themselves. You start to appreciate for the fact that they don't just take answers at face value and that they want to search and seek out the truth. You start to realize that they do respect you, that they, once they move out especially, I've seen it with my older son. I can't tell you how many phone conversations we've had where he's now said, you know what, I really appreciate what you and Dad did. Or even just little things, like him and his fiance went out to eat. That's so weird to say fiance. Went out to eat last week, and he made a comment that they had just went to a regular restaurant like we would have gone to on vacation, and it was $60. And he said, gosh, you know, I thought you took 3 kids out. You know, it was only her and I, and you took 3 of us out. I was actually thinking, well, usually it was 4, because one of you usually had a friend with you. But just the fact that they validate and they turn into these respectful, you know, amazing adults. And then you can look back and you can think, oh, I didn't do so bad after all. Or those times they were tough, but they weren't the end of the world. So, once again, I tell you, when God puts something on my heart, I never know what I'm even talking about, and I get on here and ramble. But I think I'm just wanting you all to know that, moms, it's okay. Whatever you're going through, I guarantee that somebody else is going through it also. And whatever you're going through, next year, it's not going to seem nearly as bad as it does now. We have to allow our children to make mistakes. We have to allow our children to grow up. We have to learn as parents that we don't have to be perfect, and that it's okay, and that if our kids do make a mistake, it's not our fault. Because this is the thing too, you can teach them everything. You can teach them right from wrong, you can teach them all your values, but those are your values, and they may not become their values, and that's not a reflection on you. Somebody sent me an article one time, and I'll try to find the link and post it, and I think it said my kid's an asshole, but I'm still a good mom. Excuse the language on that. But it was really actually a good blog to read, just realizing that, you know what, you're not responsible for every action, and that you're not supposed to be responsible for every action. At some point, they take responsibility, they become adults, and we learn to walk alongside them instead of ruling over them. And I don't know, just talking to my friend yesterday, we were both like, nobody's talking about it. Nobody's talking about the fact that when we went through these high school years, you know, usually starting in middle school and high school years, we thought we were so alone going through these struggles that we thought were so horrible. And then come to find out, the person probably 2 doors down was going through the exact same thing. And they thought they were the only ones. And it isolates you. And when it isolates you, this is the biggest thing. When it isolates you, the devil starts working on you. And the devil starts trying to tell you all these untruths. And you start to believe them. And so I just think if we could have a support system of some type, if us as moms could just unite, no judgment, because I guarantee if you judge, your kid's going to do something the next day that's going to make you feel like a fool for judging. Because I haven't seen one kid that's perfect. I know a lot of parents that think their kids are perfect, but I'd like to sit down with you and tell you that I kind of know what your kids are doing. So let's not judge. Let's not judge. Instead, let's just embrace. Let's be passionate with each other, show compassion with each other. Let's show love. Let's pray for each other. Let's build each other up, moms, instead of tearing each other down. Let's be there for one another. Let's get through high school and be like, you know what? We survived, our kids are awesome, and we're awesome. Because the truth is, they are.